Hi, this is Michelle at Simply Scaife Handmade, and today we're going to look at how I set up my machine for piecing quilt strips. One of the first things that we need to look at is making sure that we have our stitch length set, and mine is at 2.5, and I'm using right here a Janome Horizon machine. Aside from the stitch length, another important thing is our stitch width, and we want to make sure that we have a quarter inch or a 1/4 inch stitch seam allowance here when we sew. Consistency is the most important part, and in general a quilt pattern will tell you to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now that can be kind of hard to achieve. On this particular foot, the 1/4 inch seam measures right along this feed dog track, which makes it a little difficult to be consistent in stitching. And what I have found is this machine came with a little foot called an edging foot, and basically it has this little groove on the bottom, if you can see it right there, that keeps your fabric up against that edge, and it keeps it from going past the 1/4 inch seam allowance. As you can see right here, this is a 1/4 inch seam allowance on this foot. So this is really handy if your machine comes with one. It can be called an edging foot, or it can be called a 1/4 inch foot, and this machine did come with it. If you do not have a 1/4 inch foot with your machine, or an edging foot, for example, this machine right here does not have one. So what I've done is I've taken the regular foot that I would use, I've stitched a seam on it and measured it to see where a 1/4 inch lies from the needle to the edge of the fabric. And I just simply taken a rubber band and placed it around my machine to give me that seam allowance guide. So I have a place for my fabric to bump up against but stay in line with while I'm stitching. Before we start stitching, let's be sure that our machines are clean, they're oiled if they need oil, that our seam allowance is set between 2 and 3 or at 2.5. We need a full bobbin and a nice full spool of thread. When I piece mine, I use a basic, it's just a cotton thread. This is a cotton quilting thread that comes from my fabric store. It's a large spool. They come like this, and it's a coated cotton that is made for quilting. Now you can use a dual purpose thread while you're just piecing. That's completely fine. In general, I use a white or off-white color for my piecing. For me, that seems to make it so that I can see the stitches well, and they're hidden. They're not something you're going to see when the quilt top is finished. I use the same thread in the bobbin that I have threaded into the machine. I hope this has been helpful for you as we set up our machines in preparation for piecing our quilt.